double bubble indeed. So in this video I will be transforming a Metcalfe building, and I'll show you how I went about putting the lines in the car park behind B&M. Stay tuned and all will be revealed. Well, good morning everyone and welcome back to Piccadilly. Now this might be the last video for a short time because school starts again on Tuesday, so you never know. There might be one next week, I just don't know how it's all going to go at the moment. We'll see how I feel. But anyway, I did say that I was going to hopefully do two things in this video, and hopefully a bit later on we'll be getting to do the lining out of this area, the yellow and white lines, because there's some big hatching marks in this area here. But also I teased with what could be going just there. Well, let's have a look at the real thing. Right, so there we go. That's the building that I've been working on, i.e. this one, and that's the insurance company, and there's the start of the pub, and all that up there is the pub. Now the bit I'm talking about is that, yeah, it's a house, and a terraced house at that. And I thought, hang on a minute, that looks a bit familiar. Let's take a look. Yes, and it's the Metcalfe house, the Metcalfe terrace buildings. Now I think these things are absolutely great, and you can just make them and put them on the layout and they just do their job. And I think over the years they have got considerably better than what they were in these days. So I think there is still a place for them. However, for my layout, I feel that this is lacking somewhat. When you think about I'm making window frames and separate doors and all that sort of stuff, I think there is a way that we could upgrade this. Yeah, I'll cut it off down there, use this end and then glue it to that end over there. So let's make a start. So I must say, if you're of a sensitive disposition, then maybe you want to look away. But I'm literally just going to snap off these areas here, quite like that. And that base will just come off, okay? I don't know whether I'll use that again, I might. And I also don't need this section just here. So I'm going to take a scalpel and tease it inside that gap down there. Yeah, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. The roofs are going to be replaced, so I'm not going to worry about that. I mean, to be honest with you, the only thing I'm actually going to use is the structure. So I've got that there now. All this is going to be recovered. So again, I'm not worried by that. Oops, we're ripping off a bit more than we can chew there, but again, I'm not worrying. Like that. Okay, now as that, like I said, that paper is going to be removed. Now, actually, it does look like there is a nice fold going down there, so I'm just going to put the scalpel through that and just slice through. That. Now that, there we are, perfect. There we are. Incidentally, I thought I'd better show you this, to be honest with you. A little hobby disc sander for a 5-inch disc. I bought this from Parkside or from Lidl's. Got it from last year, and it does pop up every now and again. I think it was just short about £35, something like that. And I've been looking for something like this for ages, and it's just perfect for straightening up those little edges and all sorts of bits like that. So that's what I've just done with this house. Let's go and have a look. Kind of like that. So I think that's going to work quite well. And just to show you the space behind, actually I just had a bit of a revelation. Now I've cut that other part off, the other part from this house, it's easier to see what I'm doing. Now I was obviously going to have the house at an angle, and that was because of the distance from the track there. However, by putting it straight, you can see there is a reasonable distance there. And if I put a security fence running from this part here along there, and again down that way from the edge of the house, I think that'll be all right. Right, welcome back. Now you can see that's changed a bit, hasn't it? So what did I do then? Well, I removed the roof and the base. And the reason for that is because I needed to get to those windows and get all those Metcalfe windows out. But not only that, as I showed you before, I needed to cut this in half and stick the two parts together. So I've obviously glued it. But as I was removing some of the door frames and some of the windows, the card tore. So I glued that back together, and I thought, well, the best way to deal with this is just to put one single layer of masking tape over the whole lot. Now that obviously sticks the two parts of the building together, but as you can see in there, it's got glue, well, certainly on the top side anyway. But it's certainly got the glue ready to make that nice and strong, and it is getting there now. But obviously you can see these windows are all blocked up, so I'm looking where the windows are, and you can hopefully make out the shape of that window there. So I'm going to slice through the middle of it like that, turn the blade round and go up to the top, and then take the blade up as far as I can, slice left, slice right, same at the bottom like that. I mean, Metcalfe do this anyway, don't they, with their some of their wraps, I think, or I've seen it somewhere before anyway, I can't remember. It might not be Metcalfe, but certainly maybe in the scale scenes, I don't know, like that. And just fold the tape around the back, and that's making that building considerably stronger than what it would have been. All right, welcome back. Now what I've done since the last time you saw it is given this a very good coat of matte varnish inside and out on every single surface on both sides, and then I put it on a heater for best part of 20 minutes just to dry off. Now my next stage then is I've got some of the brick paper I've used on the station, and you'll notice I've cut it to the highest point of the peak there. So what I'm going to do first of all is glue this up. I will show you some of this, but not necessarily all the process. And then I put Pritt stick over the top. Now I'm putting a very, very, very generous layer. So you can see I'm doing short strokes until it sort of puckers up, so to speak. It looks like waves of the sea. The reason for that is because they'll get a little bit of slip and slide when you're putting it on, and it does really help. It does take a bit longer to dry, but obviously it really does help stick down. And I mean, I'm not saying I don't get bubbles, because sometimes you do. Work my way along, just pressing it down all along. Working my way all along there. Now again, that's not come up quite high enough, so when I cut off the excess, I can soon put in a little bit more. That's going to be absolutely fine. Right, I thought I'd better show you where I am, because I've sort of just got on with it, to be honest with you. But I have gone ahead and put in some of the windows. Not all of them are in yet, some of them are still printing, and you might be able to make those out there. They are literally 3D printed and then slotted into the holes. Now it does look a bit of a mess in certain places, but it will come together, I promise. Now obviously there's those two and those two there that need to be done. Now that needs a bit of tidying up, but the next thing that needs to go in are the window sills and then the lintels above each of the doors and the windows. Right, well here we are. I think I'm pretty much there with the main structure now. So you can see, as I showed you there, all the windows are in, all the window sills are in, and all the lintels are in. And you probably will have realised, if you know the area, that I've painted up the doorways as close as probably I can. There's this very, very fancy frame around that doorway there. Is actually there. If you go onto Google Earth, you'll see. And they do have black window frames with white lintels and windowsills, and all these others are white window frames with brown, and so I think it looks quite attractive. This part of the house as well is all covered with ivy, and the gardens are just gorgeous, so I'll try and replicate that as best I can. That won't be in this video. Quite nice. So my next job is to use some acetate now to plug the windows so they've got glazing inside, top and bottom, and then it's a case of putting on the roof. Now these are the parts from the Metcalfe building, so all I'm going to do is put those two together effectively and use that as a template for making some new parts, and then I can install those chimney pots as well. Okay, let's turn the attention now to these hatch lines on the car park area of the loading of the back of the B&M. Now, what we've got is a 45-degree angle running across pretty much from the edge of the building here down to the edge of the car park here, and there is like a curbstone running all the way along there, and that goes beyond that, and there's a white line up there just behind in front of the cars. So what I've done, I'm hoping you can make this out. Yes, you can. So if I draw a 45-degree line here, I would end up down here, which would end up putting me right into this building. If I put that in, you know, it's going to end up clashing with the front of the building, and I didn't think that looked quite right. So what I've done is I've taken it out a bit from the edge of that building here, and then started my 45 degrees. I'm going 8mm for each square, and I mark those off with a ruler like so. I will have to do them again at that point. That was really good planning of my part there, but I think it's really important to lightly lay out the grid. So what I'm going to do first of all, I'll carry on with that and I'll come back to you in a minute. There we go. Now I must stress, if you're going to do this, take your time, because if you get it wrong, you'll be looking at it for the rest of your time and thinking, I wish I'd have done that straight. So it's worth doing it properly first time, and if it takes you an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours longer than it would have done, that's got to be a good thing. So anyway, now on to how I'm going to paint or put the lines on. Now I can appreciate that there are stencils out there. I think Scale Model Scenery sells some stencils for this type of thing. You have to use the slightest amount of paint, hardly any at all, and then you get some decent lines. If you start blobbing it on, it'll just come out a mess, and you get blobs and overs, you know, bleeding all through. So I use sticky vinyl. Now in 00 gauge, you're probably looking lines of about 1mm, which is not an unreasonable amount, but in N gauge, that's half that. Now I can't measure half a millimetre, purely because it's really difficult to see the marks. I mean, even these marks, I have to study it really carefully to work out which marks I'm using. So I tend to do this by eye, and you might think, well, you're mad. Well, probably am. But I eye that up, make sure I've got it parallel, and I've got a brand new blade in here, and I literally just slice it through. Now I am going to go through the whole thing, the backing as well, like that. So not a massive amount, just the slightest bit. Now I'll be honest with you, I don't normally do this with PVA, purely because the surfaces I use are a bit flatter than this, but because this is a papier-mâché finish, I thought it might be worth it. So as you can see, they're literally just painting the lines on. Now I've got the joyous task of separating these parts. Right, what I'm going to do now is line up that first edge and take it all the way down to there, pulling as I go, and that will make it nice and straight, just like that. And then I can just go back over that with the brush, just to sort of tidy that up a bit. See me a bit off just there, so again I can just use the scalpel just to ease it across. Notice I've got blade up in doing that. And there we go. So 2 main areas of the build today in this video, and that's that building just there, that house or houses, and the lining. Well, you can just start with this, so you can see I've completed the lining now on this part of the board. I do need to do the lines on the road. There's some double yellow lines, white lines, but they'll get done eventually. But, you can see the vinyl does work very, very nicely and gives very clean and crisp edges. It does need weathering down, which I will do with a sponge and the tiniest amount of white and grey paint on that, trying to blend in with the background colour, to be fair, and just blot out some of that. It does look all too new, but for this video I thought it might be quite nice to show you what it looks like as it's done fresh. Car parking bays I'm really, really pleased with. Just in case you wondered why I've put 2 here, well, they do actually have 2 bays, and people park in this way. They come straight off the road there, and obviously they can come out this way down here. I am thinking of putting this road so it goes across the railway bridge and down here, purely so the lorries can get out. In reality, there is another road that comes around here, and the lorries, I think, probably go out that way, to be honest. I don't know that. So again, if you know which way the lorries go, then please say, do they go out that way? Anyway, so moving on to the actual building, and as I've said before, this is a Metcalfe building. And you've seen the process right from the beginning, and you originally saw there were 2 sets of pairs of terraced houses, and this one was cut in half and glued onto that section there to make a 3-section unit. But looking at that now, you'd never guess, and the masking tape that I put over the top really has helped to sort that out. Yeah, it is a bit rough and ready in places, and to be honest with you, I quite like that. It sort of adds to the charm of it a little bit. And yes, the brickwork has gone a little bit awry there, but you know, it's end gauge, and you don't see the bricks that carefully anyway. So, you know, bearing in mind they're about 1.5 millimeters by 3/4 millimeter, so you wouldn't notice it too much. In terms of the building, as you can see, it has been heavily modified. I've put new chimney stacks on the top, so all 4 have had new chimneys, the actual drain chimney pots themselves. All the windows have been replaced with 3D printed windows. The doors are 3D printed, and you can see that it just gives them a little bit more texture. The windows have got depth to them now, and that's one of the things I really wanted to do. The window sills and the lintels have got depth. This thing here is the original bay window in there, but again, it's been completely gutted and transformed. In fact, these do have blinds in them in the picture, so I might just try and insert some blinds in around there. I've still got access from below, but we'll see how that goes. When that's on the layout like that, I think that just adds to the charm of that area, and there is still enough space behind just to get that train through. And if I put the fence right up against the house, it shouldn't really be causing any issues. So anyway, I think I'm going to leave the video there for this time. And as I've said before, school starts again on Tuesday, the 22nd. And it does tire me out quite a lot these days. So we'll see how much we can get done. The board will remain downstairs. So it's little fiddly jobs like painting and, you know, little bits painting there. I've got the roofs to make on those and all sorts of little bits and bobs, and the wall to go down here and the fences to make and all those sorts of things. I can just set the 3D printer going and probably just get it done over a period of time. But I'll probably come back to you either next week or the week after, show you the progress I've made. I'm not necessarily going to do any more stage by stage, but I'll show you as and when we get there. All right. Anyway, you take care of yourself. Happy Easter to everybody. And I'll see you again very, very soon here on Piccadilly. Take care of yourself and bye for now.